Various mysterious events have been brought to the surface in recent years. Some of these do eventually go on to get explained, but some of them remain a mystery. This mysterious photograph was allegedly taken in a cave in the Republic of Honduras. Not much is known about the photograph, but the uploaders said that while in the cave they decided to take some pictures. They said it was quite dark inside, and the deeper they went the darker it got. They took some photos in a dark spot and managed to capture something they couldn't explain. When looking back at the photos, they noticed a strange apparition. They had no idea what it was and couldn't explain where the light source was coming from. The area where the photograph was taken was closed in, and they said there was nothing nearby that could have created it. Strangely, some have suggested that the light anomaly is in fact an angel, suggesting that it has the same shape and colours of many other angels that have been caught on camera. As of right now though, the photograph remains a mystery, with the individuals not knowing what they captured on that day. Another mysterious event is that of the Hollingwell incident. The Hollingwell incident remains one of Great Britain's biggest unexplained mysteries. 30 years after the event, it still continues to puzzle experts and the local community. In the summer of 1980, the annual Hollingwell show was gearing up in Kirby in Ashfield. As part of the event, the Forest League of Juvenile Jazz Bands decided to create a junior brass and marching band competition, with entrants coming from across the East Midlands. Around 500 children from 11 different marching bands had travelled distances of up to 40 miles to attend. Tired from their journeys and nervous about the upcoming performance, the atmosphere behind the scenes was tense. However, tension alone couldn't explain why at 10:30 AM hundreds of band members began to collapse. Whatever had caused this soon spread to the adults and babies in the audience. In total, 259 people were taken to 4 nearby hospitals, with symptoms ranging from sore eyes and throats to nausea. 9 patients were held overnight. Hypotheses from the event on the day span from contaminated water, gas leaks, UFOs, and even the demonic power of Satan. Water and gas companies confirmed all supplies were working as usual and should not have harmed any of the locals. The official inquiry ruled that mass hysteria was most likely the cause. All the symptoms of mass hysteria, nausea, stomach cramps, headaches and fainting were present in Hollingwell that day, and the vast majority of victims were young females, which is also in line with mass hysteria's demographics. But could an incredibly rare epidemic of mass hysteria really explain the events of that day? Not all the people present were convinced. Adamant that their symptoms were real and not the result of mass hysteria invented by Sigmund Freud, they were unhappy with the official diagnosis. They argued that mass hysteria could not explain all of the events in Hollingwell. First, according to Freud's notes on mass hysteria, babies are much too young to be influenced by their surroundings, so would not be susceptible. However, Margaret Palethorpe brought her 3-month-old baby to the event who collapsed in her pram. Secondly, Terry Bingham was one of the adult males who experienced the effects of a burning in his throat and eyes. As a fireman and miner accustomed to perilous and tense working environments, he argues he would not have been bothered by a mass hysteria event. A popular theory that has emerged since Hollingwell is that the events of the day were a result of pesticides in the atmosphere. In 2000, tridmorph was a pesticide that was banned by the British government and described as hazardous by the World Health Organization. Back in 1980 though, the pesticide was perfectly legal and found sprayed on fields that surrounded the Hollingwell surroundings. Interestingly, the symptoms the victims of Hollingwell displayed of irritated skin and eyes are known side effects of tridmorph. The only problem is whether it's likely that a chemical was sprayed several hundred yards away and several days before the Hollingwell show is to blame. Is it likely that it would have affected hundreds of people at this show? As of today, this event remains a mystery. The next interesting discovery is that of alleged 2.8 billion-year-old spheres. The Klerksdorp spheres are small objects discovered from 3 billion-year-old deposits mined in South Africa. The intricate nature and resistance of these objects has led some to believe they are not natural and could have only been manufactured by intelligent beings. Michael Cremo is a prominent member of this theory. He argues that the perfect shape, intricate inside and unbreakable nature of these objects are evidence of a pre-human civilization, and that they existed on Earth billions of years ago. He likens the objects to similar spheres found in Utah, that legends hold are 2 million years old, and belong to the departed ancestors of the Hopi Native Americans. Cremo and others argue that the shapes are so balanced and in proportion that it's extremely unlikely they were naturally formed. Reportedly, a man by the name of John Hurd took one of the spheres to the California Space Institute, and was told its balance was so fine that it exceeded the limit of their measuring technology. The inside of the spheres have been described as being perfectly concentric rooms that look like they've been moulded and are harder than steel. However, Cremo and others have been met with resistance. Paul Henrik critiques the sources used, and therefore says that the research is flawed. Henrik argues that the supposed perfect shape of the spheres is exaggerated. Instead, some of the spheres vary from flattened spheres to an oblong shape. Some of them were even found interlocked with each other. All these forms would fall within the range of shapes exhibited by natural concretions. The inside of the spheres are also argued by Henrik to be natural in origin. The grooves represent fine-grained laminations, within which the consecrations grew and are similar to other natural objects found 2.7 to 2.8 billion years ago in Australia. And finally, claims by Cremo and others that the spheres are stronger than steel have been dismissed. This is when 5 of them were examined and none were harder than 4 to 5 on the Mohs scale. In context, steel has a rating of between 7 and 8. Interestingly, since Henrik's critique of Cremo's work, other sources have come out of the woodwork to deny their claims. Charles Marx had been previously quoted as stating that the spheres had been known to rotate themselves, and this was in vibration-free display cases in the Klerksdorp Museum. He has since retracted this statement, saying that it's untrue to say that display cases were free of outside vibrations, and that the spheres were likely rotating due to vibrations from underground blasting in local mines. Henrik has built up his case to argue that all the evidence actually points to the spheres being a natural phenomenon, rather than being the creation of a pre-human civilization. He argues that they show every sign of originating as consecrations which formed in volcanic sediments. It's ultimately up to the reader though whether to follow Cremo's argument, saying that the spheres are man-made artifacts, or Henrik's which state they're a result of Mother Nature. The last discovery is that of the Tucson artifacts. The Tucson artifacts are the lead objects discovered by Charles Manier and his family in the Picture Rocks in Arizona. When Manier stopped to examine some old lime kilns, he saw an object protruding from the ground. This revealed itself to be a lead cross weighing 64 pounds. Manier's friend Thomas Brent, on hearing about the cross, hurried to the site and began excavating. A total of 31 lead objects were found, including crosses, swords and religious objects. The objects contain Latin inscriptions that, when translated, tell a story of the leaders of Calalas and their conflicts with a barbarian enemy known as the Toltecs. If true, this would be a historical revelation. It would show that Europeans were in North America before Christopher Columbus discovered the land. Unsurprisingly, the Tucson artifacts and the historical information they reveal have become a controversial topic. Forensic geologist Scott Walters' chemical tests on the objects led him to confirm their authenticity, and Brent was so convinced that he wrote a 350-page manuscript titled The Tucson Artifacts. However, notably, this remains unpublished. Others have not been so accepting of the artifacts and branded them a hoax. In particular, the artifacts have come under fire for their lead quality and the Latin inscriptions. The lead that the Tucson artifacts are made of is not highly refined, and contains different mixtures of tin, zinc, copper, gold and silver. This mixture is consistent with lead from 20th century lead battery anodes, and not lead dating back thousands of years. The quality of the Latin inscriptions of the Tucson artifacts is questionable. Most look like they've been copied from classical authors, such as Virgil and Cicero, or texts that are widely found in Latin grammar books and dictionaries, rather than the objects being created by the ancient people of Calalas. it's been proposed that the objects were created by a 20th century artist. After news of the artifacts was published in newspapers, a rancher came forward and claimed the objects were the work of a Mexican sculptor, and his name was Timio Odahe. Odahe was a former classics student who lived near the site where the objects were discovered, and was known for his abilities in crafting lead objects. With a knowledge of Latin and lead, the creation of the two-sun artifacts would have been in Odahe's reach. The only problem is that, other than the rancher, nobody seems to have heard of Odahe. If the artifacts were a hoax, it seems odd that he would put so much time, expense and labour in creating an extensive collection of artifacts that he would never profit from. Whether the two-sun artifacts are the work of an ancient civilization, or a sculpture is a question that remains unanswered. So what do you make of these 4 interesting events and discoveries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.